Hello and welcome to ReginaldESQ. I'm Underhook and this is my review of the American T7 light tank, the M41 Walker Bulldog. So is this tank any good? Yeah, it's a very good tank actually, but it's very fragile. So yes, a very good tank. It is a scout tank, of course, so you will see tanks up to tier 10, which is always difficult. But this tank does do well, even in tier 10 it can do quite well. As I say, it is fragile though, and that is probably the balancing factor, because on paper it has the best stats of any of the tier 7 light tanks. But it is very fragile. Now I recently reviewed the LTTB, the Russian tier 7 scout tank, and that thing isn't fragile. That thing's pretty tough for a scout tank, whereas this one is very fragile. Now its tracks are very, very, very weak. And it is very fast. So I found this tank actually tracks itself really easily, like just going over a bump that you would think is nothing, and it tracks itself. So I have in fact upgraded the tracks with the enhanced torsion bar suspension here to try and prevent it from tracking itself and being very easily tracked by others. The other really big weakness this has is that it has a huge ammo rack. Entire front half, one half of the front of the tank is an ammo rack, and the front half, I think on both sides, is basically entirely ammo rack. So it gets very easily ammo racked, and when you are circling another light tank or a medium tank, the auto lock feature locks onto the ammo rack of this tank. So when you are dogfighting, let's call it, with other tanks, if they use the auto lock feature, pretty much every single one of their rounds will be going straight into your ammo rack. And it isn't just a case of the ammo rack getting damaged on this tank, it actually blows the turret off as well fairly often. So you'll be circling another tank and your ammo rack gets taken out, and then you can't fire back, you repair it, you get a couple of shots in, they get a couple more into you, your ammo rack gets taken out again, and you don't have another repair kit. That kind of thing happens a lot, which is where the auto gun, the gun that on this tank has a gun that loads 10 rounds, that becomes almost essential to overcome the ammo rack issue. The turret also gets locked fairly often on this tank. Other than that, that's about it for the fragility. It's mainly the ammo rack, the tracks, and the turret. So this tank has 910 hit points, which is about average for tier 7 tank. The best is the LTTB with 950, and the worst is the T71 with 840. Weighing in at around 23 to 24 tons, this tank is fairly heavy. Well, in fact, it is the heaviest, if you don't count the Panzer, which is no longer available. It's the heaviest tank at tier 7, so you can pretty much ram any of the other scouts that you encounter fairly safely. It is the fastest tank in its tier, doing 72 kilometers per hour in forward. The next fastest is the LTTB at 68. It also does 24 kilometers an hour in reverse, which is faster reverse speed than any of the other scout tanks as well. So do have great maneuverability in this tank. The slowest is the SP1C, the German one, with 58 in forward and 22 in reverse. Now the track traverse on this tank at 56 degrees a second is also the best in class, or the equal best, along with the T71. The worst is the AMX 1375 at just 40. Turret traverse, also the best in class at 52 degrees a second. Like I say, on paper, this thing is way better than just about anything else in its class. The worst turret traverse in class is the T71. View range, equal best in class at 400 meters, which enables this tank to do really well at spotting even in tier 10. So the SP1C and the T71 both also have 400 meter view range. However, all the rest of the scout tanks have 390 meters. So this tank really, really is out there as far as great handling stats and great view range. It does signal range is also very good. It's about average, I guess, but you know, even the worst, the Type 62 Premium, is 625, which is not bad. And the best is the WZ131 with 782. This thing has about 745, so it's quite good. Camouflage is probably the only negative stat on this tank, when I say negative, it's not terrible. It's still pretty good. It's slightly better than the T71, which is the worst, but it's nowhere near as good as the AMX 1375, for example. It's all right, but it's not great. Now, gun depression, well, once again, we're equal best with 10 degrees of gun depression, which for a Tier 7 light tank is pretty darn good. The SP1C also has 10 degrees, but that's it. They are the only two with 10 degrees. The Alpha Panzer used to also have 10 degrees. Now, the next best would be, I think, say 7 degrees from the T71. The worst, of course, being the LTTB at 3 degrees. So it is a bit of an advantage. This is really, I guess the fragility of this tank is one of its balancing factors, because without that it threatens to be overpowered, really. Let's have a look at the grind for the tank. So basically, yeah, I mean, look, the engine I found really didn't make any difference to it. It goes up 50 horsepower from 500 to 550, which is 10% increase, but I actually found almost no difference. So that's one you may not have to go through if you don't want to. It does cost 18,000 XP to get it, so if you just want to get to the T49, you could probably skip the engine. Now, gun-wise, you've got kind of, I guess, two guns, main guns to choose from. And the one on the left here is basically the single shotgun, and the one on the right here is the autocannon. Now, the autocannon basically has 10 shells in the magazine, but other than that, it's pretty much the same gun but with worse stats. The advantage, you get the advantage of autocannon, but the rest of the stats are worse. So I started playing most of my games with the single shot, thinking really wouldn't need the autocannon, because the single shot cannon's got a pretty good reload anyway, 13.95. That's pretty quick, almost 14 rounds a minute. 175mm of penetration with 150 damage is really good, and enables you even to penetrate most tier 10s from the side or the rear. And you can go up to 210mm of penetration with premium ammunition. 0.38 accuracy isn't fantastic, but it's not bad. At least you can hit the tanks that you're aiming at most of the time. And 1.9 second aiming time is fantastic for a tank at this tier. The autocannon, you get 10 shells in the magazine, and it fires one every 2 seconds, which is really, really quick. 36 to load the whole magazine though, which is terrifyingly slow. You basically have to hide or run, but then again, you are able to hide and run very effectively in this tank. Once again, 175mm of pen and 150 damage. The penetration and damage stats are exactly the same as the other gun. However, we lose a bit of accuracy going from 0.38 to 0.4, and we lose some aiming time going from 1.9 to 2.1, although 2.1 is still pretty good. So I decided to use a single shot cannon because I thought, well, the rate of fire is still good anyway. Why would you bother using that auto cannon and having other worse stats? However, once I changed and started using the auto cannon just to see what it was like, I started doing a lot more damage per game. So this actually is a better gun, and also getting ammo racked, which, like I said to you, is quite frequent, doesn't sort of matter when you have this auto cannon, because it doesn't affect that 2 second time once the whole gun is reloaded. Although to load the entire magazine becomes horrifically slow if you're if it's out. But it just means that during a battle, when you're sparring with someone, you've got those 10 rounds no matter what, which is actually really handy and keeps you, for me anyway, kept me alive a lot longer. Now, as usual, I have to cover all this by saying I am not a good light tank driver. I'm not a good scout tank driver, but I did have a lot of fun in this tank. My crew, though, is very, very good. Fully trained, I have 105% in this guy, and these guys are 116. The whole team has brothers in arms. My commander also has Sixth Sense and is working on camouflage at the moment. This guy has Snapshot and is working on camouflage. This guy has off-road driving and is working on camouflage. And this guy has brothers in arms and is working on safe stowage because of the ammo rack issue. So this crew, I think, was originally out of a medium tank, which is why they're working on camouflage now rather than having it right from the start. I have camouflage net and binoculars fitted, and as I said, I have enhanced the suspension to try and stop it from being ammo racked. I have small repair kit, large repair kit, and large first aid kit fitted. So let's have a look at the tank in Tank Inspector, and then we will get into some gameplay. The armour of the Walker Bulldog in Tank Inspector, and yes, I've gone back to Tank Inspector. One of our subscribers kindly informed us that it was back up and running, so we're using Tank Inspector again. I prefer it personally. So, having a look at the colorized view, we can see that this tank has pretty much no armour to speak of. 32mm on the lower plate and 25mm on the upper plate, and the majority of the turret here, including the cupola. You might bounce the odd shot off the mantlet here because it is 32mm overlaying 25 in parts, although close to the gun it's just the 32mm. Like I say, that's going to be a lucky bounce maybe you'll get off there. The front section here of the turret, this front upper section, is 19mm thick and will be easily overmatched by most other tanks. The front half of the side of the tank is 25mm, the rear half of the side of the tank is 19mm, and the side of the turret is 25mm. Looking to the back of the tank, the lower half is 19, the upper half around the engine area is 13mm. Top deck we have 19mm and 13mm once again for the top of the turret and the top of the cupola. So really basically has no armour. You really have to look at it like that, and if you hit with a HE shell, it will destroy the tank.
Move out.
The map is Erlenberg. It's a tier 8 game. About half the tanks on the enemy team are tier 8s. We're now tier 7 M41 Walker Bulldog. We have the single shotgun fitted, so it's not the autocannon. So this one has 0.38 accuracy and 1.9 second aiming time. 175 mils of pen with an average damage of 150 per shot. So I'm moving into a spotting position. You see the tank does move quite quickly. As I say, I don't think it accelerates as well as the LTTB, but the top speed is definitely better. So I move into this spotting position here, although it doesn't really work out. Sometimes you need to move a bit further forward than this bush, and also my team moves into a better spot. But I'm going to speed this up to 2 times for now. Sometimes the gun will wander a little bit. That's just a replay bug. So my crew's 100% trained, but I don't actually have brothers in arms at this stage. Okay, so I'm slowing it down to normal speed because a leopard's been spotted. Tier 5 leopard, I think it was. Or was it the tier... No, it can't be the tier 10 one because it's a tier 8 game. AMX-12T. So as you can see, the accuracy of 0.38 holds out really well.
That one bounced.
It bounced one.
Enemy armor is damaged.
Jag Panther, lower plate we're aiming at, and it hits what we aim at.
Enemy is hit.
So quite impressive accuracy at around about 500 meters there. So you could probably pretty safely say that the accuracy is better than the stated accuracy. So, you know, I don't have the brothers in arms, so this is just a 100%, but it's otherwise standard crew.
Enemy is hit.
So you can see here I'm spreading my shots around a little bit. The main reason for that is I wanted to get a Confederate badge just to, in case
We didn't even scratch
we lose the game, I'll still get experience as if
Enemy armor is damaged.
as if we won. I do that sometimes when I've got tanks that don't do a lot of damage per shot, such as I do that in the Panther at tier 7 as well, with the medium tank. I tend to try and get Confederate badges. So now we decide to move forward since there's no one who's just going to one-shot kill us here or anything. The armor is pretty fragile, and I don't think I got any spotting done there at all back there because my team advanced quite quickly and the enemy team did not advance. Now I see this SU 122-44 on very low hit points. I decide to do a hero run and just take it out. I then decide I'm just going to keep going over the hill so the Firefly can't keep fighting over me. I'm just going to take this Nashorn out from behind. What I don't see, however, is this WZ111 come over the hill behind me and put a big shot into me. I see him, I realise I can't take the WZ out. He will beat me eventually. So I decided to see if I can take out this grill. We get a couple of good shots in him and take him out. We actually spot this M12 here, but we don't make it any further than that. The M12 we spotted gets taken out, I think, by our artillery. And yeah. And the Tiger 2 enemy team is calling me a stupid dog bulldog, haha. Anyway. So that was a Class 3 badge in the tank. We did get the Confederate badge, although we didn't end up needing it because we won anyway. Next screen, and we finished second for damage. I don't know why I had it listed by damage, but I did for some reason. I normally listed by experience. On experience, we probably finished about 5th or 6th or something like that. Next screen, and we fired 19 rounds, 18 of them hit, which is really good considering the range that most of our shots were taken from. So you can see accuracy is probably a little bit better than the .38 that's listed at, and 14 of the shots that we fired penetrated. Being a tier 8 game, it was pretty easy in that respect. Tier 10 games, you can bounce more shots unless you're getting close in and getting behind the tanks a bit more. Damage of 1922 was pretty good and is one of the best damage runs I had with a single shotgun. 1300 of that was from long range. We received 4 hits, they all penetrated, of course. Enemy vehicles spotted 3, we damaged 8 tanks, destroying 2 of them, and we did a tiny bit of assistance damage. 30,000 income resulted in around about 18,000 profit, which is kind of 721 XP is a Class 3 in the tank.
Time to roll out.
The map is Airfield, and this time it's a Tier 9 game, although there are only 2 Tier 9s on the enemy team. This game also has the auto cannon fitted, so the accuracy isn't quite as good. It's .40, and the aiming time instead of 1.9 is 2.1. But it does have 10 rounds in the magazine and only 2 seconds between each round, so it's very good in that respect. I do have a 100% trained crew, though they still don't have Brothers in Arms yet, so it's just basically like a standard 100% trained crew, although I have 6 Sense and a couple of other skills. So going up to my favourite position, and on the way up we spot a Chi-Ri, which is still trying to get into his preferred location, and because of the auto cannon on this tank, we are able to put 3 shots into him before I decide to move before artillery or something hits me. And that is the big advantage of this autocannon. Situations like that where you get someone who's out of position, you can just pump multiple shots into them. Even like this guy here.
Enemy armor is hit.
Side on, caught in bad position. I see his gun pointing at me, so I back off. But really, you know, I would have only got 1 shot there if I didn't have the autocannon. Same with the Chi-Ri, I may have got 1 or maybe 2, but ended up putting 3 into him with this gun, and that's why I find with this gun, you can just get more damage because you don't have armor, so you can't just pop out and trade shots with people. It's really, most of the shots you're getting are shots of opportunity, and with the autocannon, you just get more out of each opportunity. So I knew that this guy had been spotted, this Walker Bulldog here, and I was just waiting for him to come out. We get 1 shot and 2 shots, managed to finish him off. I probably hung around a little bit long there, trying to get a shot at the U-251 there, and now I'm reloading. But you can see we've already had a pretty good impact on the game, even though it's early days. We just got into a good spot and had some people who just were caught out in the open. And the 150 damage per shot isn't much, but when you've got an autoloader, that accumulates pretty quickly. I mean, if you get all 10 rounds and they penetrate into someone, that's 1,500 damage. And like I say, the tank is fast enough then to just run, if you need to. So I've just finished reloading there, so as you can see, pretty long reload time. Might just put this up to 2 times. I'm waiting for like that Chi-Ri, for someone to be caught off guard. Chi-Ri's been tracked, and someone else gets a final shot. We actually fire the second shot, but it's too late. Someone's already killed him. I'll move back now. I've been spotted, so I'm just waiting till hopefully one's spotted. But I see this IS here, who is in a bad position, so let's try and take advantage of that. My second shot there on miss. He managed to get out of the way, but got the rear of him there. I can see this IS-3 here, and I decided, nah, that my IS-2's moving position, so I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to try and drive straight past this IS-3, and you can see his gun is having trouble keeping up with us. He puts his shot into the dirt, and so that is, of course, his death sentence. I don't know where my IS-2 went. I was really hoping he would come and help out here. I didn't think I'd be doing this on my own. Oh, there he is there. He's come around as well. You can see the maneuverability of this tank. When you get a heavy tank like that, it's too much. And as I said, it has got the speed to run away because I'm out of ammunition now. We did bounce a couple of shots, and that IS-2 didn't come around the corner to help out like I thought he would. And anyway, he gets finished off by our Chinese scout tank. Good job. And that is, I guess, the one disadvantage of this against the other gun, apart from the aim time and the accuracy stats, which I actually didn't find to be too much of a limitation. Enemy tank firing at us there, and my gun is now reloaded, is that, yeah, when you actually do run out of rounds on the autocannon, you can't finish tanks or do anything. So with this guy here now, I just think, well, I've got an autocannon, I'm just going to trade shots with you. Then I realise, oh no, he's got an autocannon too. So we really do trade shots there. Something gets taken out, one of my units, and my radio guy got killed or something. Oh no, my driver got killed, and my cupola got damaged. Anyway, I used a first aid kit there. So we've managed to spot someone spotted the enemy artillery. We got a couple of shots into the enemy artillery there. I have 4 rounds left in my gun, so I'm just trying to see if I can get something into this T-54 without hitting my teammates. 1 into him, 2, he's tracked now, 3, oh, nearly hit my teammate, 4, and we're out of ammo. The enemy has 2 tanks left, but by the time I reload, it's all over. So that was a class 1 in the tank. Good game, we did plenty of damage. Next screen, we finished on top for experience. And on top for damage as well. Did we? Yeah, we did. So good game. We fired 30 rounds, 24 of those hit. So maybe the accuracy not as good, maybe showing up on this gun. Of the 24, 20 of them penetrated, which is pretty darn good, really. 2,764 damage, 830 of that being at long range. We received 5 hits, they all penetrated. There's no escaping in this tank. We spotted 1 vehicle, damaged 7, destroyed 3 of them, doing a little bit of assistance damage, not much. 41,000 income. Our tank wasn't destroyed, so we didn't have to pay huge repair costs, enabling us to make 27,000 profit, which is pretty good. 1,155 raw XP is a class 1 in the tank, so I'm guessing mastery would probably be around 1250, something like that.
Time to roll out.
The map is Erlenberg. It's a tier 8 game. More than half the tanks on enemy team are tier 8s. I have the autocannon fitted once again, and this time I do have Brothers in Arms, so the crew stats are a little better than standard. I'm showing you this game because I'm a bit more active in this game, and it shows off the maneuverability of the tank a bit more than my previous 2 games have gone, because some of you who are better than driving these tanks than I am will probably use the maneuverability a bit more than I kind of normally do. I don't know why I'm driving really weirdly at the moment. I think I just couldn't decide. I know. I was waiting to see what tanks were going to come over this side before I committed to my course of action. That's what it was. So yeah, I'm going to show off a bit of maneuverability in the tank. In this game, it's an encounter mode, so there's only 1 cap in the middle. But yeah, this will really show off the maneuverability of the tank. This game will also show off one of the weaknesses of having an autocannon. But anyway, let's get into it. So I immediately get into a position where I can sort of spot that encounter the cap there, and it pays off. We've spotted a couple of tanks straight away. We get in 1 shot into the 1375 to deal with his cap points. He doesn't move. As you can see, the gun does fire with the autocannon slightly faster than it can aim, and I made the noob mistake of firing before it was fully aimed and missed a couple of potentially easy shots on the 1375 there. I've got 4 rounds in my gun. So the great gun depression on this tank obviously helpful in these sort of situations. Is he going to move in a position where we can get another shot on him? No, it looks like he's a bit too clever for that. Anyway, the enemy that was capping is now no longer capping, and we are holding 12% currently in cap. I've just been spotted by, looks like a T-71 on the hill to my left, so I can't really sit in that position spotting the cap circle anymore. Now, I really shouldn't be knocking over these trees with artillery around, but anyway.
Enemy is hit.
We get one into that T-71, which is nice. That will hopefully stop him from being so bold with his spotting. So moving back to this position, I want to try and spot Cap again. Because if we can get rid of that tank, we've obviously got a tank in Cap, so if we can get their tanks out of our Cap, we'll start accumulating Cap points again, which just puts pressure on the enemy team to do something silly. I have decided now to reload, so you can see that my gun is currently reloading, and my gun is now reloaded. So I think I had about 3 rounds in the magazine when I decided to reload. It was just a little bit of a quiet time, and I thought I'd take advantage of it. And here we have an SU. I do not want to get hit by the SU. That will really hurt. Put a sneaky one into front of him. Doesn't do any damage. He actually fires though and misses. I consider taking the chance and going up around him now, but then think better of it because there's just too many of their tanks still in play, and I'll get blasted from different angles. However, I see the SU-122 coming around. I can't afford to sit in front of that tank, and I do a bit of a clever maneuver. He actually goes down the hill, which is pretty silly, although he does take out our tank. But this is where being an autoloader is really nice. We can pretty quickly take out this tank, although I think somebody else got the killing shot there. I think I've got 5 rounds left. Can't afford to reload with so many tanks close to me. And I see this tank maneuvering. I've got good gun depression. I reckon I can get some shots here. I started moving forward, then I decided to stop moving forward. He just cannot get his gun on me. He doesn't have the gun depression, and I do. So now the Jack Panther comes at me, gets a shot. I am out of ammunition. That was my last shot. Imagine if I had ammo here, I could be ripping this guy to pieces. You can see the maneuverability of the tank. I see the other E25 coming at this guy. I've just got to run now. I was just going to keep doing circles around the other TD, but when the E25 came, I thought, well, I cannot circle both of them and successfully, so I decided to run. Getting here to try and get in a position where I can reload. The E25 gets another round into me, and I can't really get it away now. The E25's going to come one side, this guy's coming the other side. My gun finally reloads, but it's all too late. So class 3 in the tank, and we ended up winning that game. But I hope that did show off the maneuverability of the tank. It is very agile, and in the hands of someone who's better than me, I'm just sort of average, I think you could do really, really well in this tank. The autoloader, though, I think is pretty helpful for people who are sort of average players. It does allow you to do quite a bit of damage pretty quickly, and it definitely, I feel anyway, for someone who's an average player, it is a lot easier to do well with the autocannon fitted. So we finished about 3rd for XP in that game, and we did pretty good amount of damage. I think actually we probably did the 2nd highest damage on our team, so not bad. 17 rounds we fired, 14 of them hit, 13 of them penetrated, doing 1,768 damage. Some of that was long range. Received 7 hits. We actually managed to bounce a shot. Don't know who that was off, but we did bounce a shot. We spotted 5 tanks and damaged 5 tanks as well, destroying 2 of them, doing actually a little bit of assistance damage, 445, and a couple of defense points. This time we didn't do too badly with income, or profit margin wasn't too bad, and what was it, 822 was a class 3, I think that was, in the tank. Thank you for watching my review of the M41 Walker Bulldog. Hope you liked it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more reviews, please subscribe to ReginaldESQ. Have fun.